sounds like Natter Splat, bitch.
Natter Splat.
Natter Splat.
Natter Splat.
Natter Splat. Natter Splat. Natter Splat.
Natter Splat.
So, it's been a minute since we've done a podcast.
Hello.
But it's not for any lack of adventures.
Absolutely not.
We've just been overrun with adventures, and now we are on another one. So today's episode will be talking about what we've been doing for the last few days. We're going on a road trip through the Balkan.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are.
So we left Prague, and then we drove straight to Budapest. We surpassed a few of this, we passed a few of the stars that I wanted to go to, but they're in Slovakia, and Slovakia is right next door. So
She means star forts, for any of you who are uninitiated into what stars mean, as she says, we're visiting stars. She means star fortresses.
Yeah, I forget not everybody lives in my world.
In your
my
world,
head.
no, not at all. There's lots of people who do not know what a star fortress is, which leads us on
We could do a whole episode just about stars.
Let's
Let's start there. This is going to be a two-parter.
A start with the stars, exactly.
All right, so we're going to start with the stars. I'm really enthusiastic about this, actually.
You absolutely love it. So what is a star fort?
So star forts are, they say that they're fortresses built for defense, and they are all over the world. We know that there's pyramids on every continent. And we just saw one in Bosnia, but we'll get to that later. So there's pyramids on every continent. There's some in Egypt. There's one in Bosnia. There's a few in Bosnia. There's the three set up essentially the same ones in Giza are. And then the biggest pyramid complex is in Cambodia. And then there's obviously the ones in South America. I guess I heard that there's a pyramid basin in Ohio, maybe? That I would have to double check on, but I did hear that there was one or a basin of one in North America as well. Also, the one that was destroyed in France, there is documented evidence of one, and the quarry from where it came from as well, but then that one is mostly gone now. And then China, of course, and they've been just trying to plant trees all over their things, but I'm getting distracted, so I wanted to talk about pyramids. But this all correlates together, so.
Okay, but let's slow down. The traditional history would say that they were built more recently. It's your belief that they were built much, much further back in time, correct?
Yeah, because I believe that there's been multiple civilizations aside from the one that we're devolving from now.
Yeah.
So, and I guess the super megalithic structures all around come from a prior civilization. And there's a guy that I follow on YouTube, and he calls them the Cyclopean and the Polygonal civilizations. And I guess it's the polygonals that would be, I hope I have this correct, the polygonals that would be part of the Machu Picchu, and the rocks that are megalithic in size and then fit together without even a centimeter of error anywhere. And we can barely do that today with building standards and the way we build things. So it's from the super megalithic things are from a prior civilization, but then I also believe in a prior civilization as close as 200 years ago or less. So, and
it was a world expansing.
Yeah, because in the last 2,000 years, and they blame it on illiteracy and the fact that not everybody could read or whatever have you, and documentation was not the best. But I also believe that there is a bit of a cover-up going on.
Okay.
And I think because we know that there's big chunks of our timeline that don't make sense, and there's a lot of things that don't add up. And the more I look into history, and because I've always been interested in ancient history, so it has to be 1,000 years or older to usually catch my interest. But now, because I've done a quite extensive research into the very old past, now it's bringing me to modern history, which is within the last 1,000 years.
Okay.
That's what I consider modern history. And there's just, okay, so there's the 80-year war in the Netherlands. And it's just the way they say it and the timelines, they don't really add up to. Okay, so I know this is going to maybe sound crazy, but I learn.
I'm used to that from you.
I learn with my mind and my heart, because my mind can read something in a book or be told something, but because I'm in the habit of questioning everything, I have to ask my heart if it's true or not, and ask my heart how I feel about these things. So, and it's like, because I understand like the power of your heart, and your heart can feel energies that your body and mind just don't. Your heart can feel when somebody is on their way to your house. And I believe that this has to do with energy very much. And your heart picks up on the energy fields around it, because I very much think in terms of energy. And like when I'm making choices in my day-to-day life, like it's different when you're talking professionally, because with professional you have to take risks sometimes. But in my day-to-day, like I look at things in terms of energy of like, okay, is this decision going to give me up and down sharp wavelengths and how I feel, or is it going to give me smooth rolling wavelengths? Like which wavelength am I going to want to choose for my daily choices?
We'll call this episode "Into the Mind of a Schizoid," but
no, it's just the way I perceive things.
Well, obviously, what you're talking about here is much better represented visually than just audio. So that gets us onto your other platform that you explore some of these things.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Your YouTube channel, right? That's what
I have
you
a YouTube channel now.
primarily.
I'm sure I just sound like, I'm sure it sounds like a bunch of jibber jabber to the people that like don't know the things that I'm looking into. But I'm like, mostly what the YouTube channel is about is I've discovered that these star forts, and I just call them star cities, are all over the world. So like I said, there's a pyramid in every continent, or on most continents. But then what people don't seem to realize is that in most major cities that are over 200 years old, there's probably going to be a star city or a star fort there as well. So I'm going to call them star cities because that's what I'm transitioning to.
Yeah.
Because like learning with my mind and learning with my heart, you have to keep a balance. And when you question everything, and like I've learned that your heart can guide you really well. And I'm not talking about just love energy. I'm talking about like your heart is an incredible muscle, and it can feel the energy fields around you. And there is natural energy on our planet. That's undeniable that we have energy on this like Earth. We're not just
okay. So tell our listeners some of the places that you've already visited and recorded for your YouTube channel regarding this kind of thing, and what's upcoming. You know, what we've looked at on our trip so far and made videos of. Because what could they go right now and look at, which is just Proxy Paige on YouTube, right?
Yeah, you just type in Proxy Paige, and then it'll bring you to my channel.
And it may surprise someone who's looking for your name, the sort of content.
I know, I've gotten so many comments that say like, why are you giving us a tour of this church? Why aren't you talking about sex? And like, I've been in porn for fudge 14 years now, 7 years as a performer, and now 7 years as a director. So I needed another outlet aside from the
that's
porn
it. You
stuff.
have interests and a personality outside of
just my sexuality,
apart
which is
from
very
sex.
strong. But
well, there's plenty of time to talk about young sluts, but sometimes you want to talk about pyramids and star cities.
Yeah.
So tell us, where have you visited before, and what's on your YouTube channel?
Well, you and I tend to do road trips
I have
together
been on a few. I am a feature on those YouTube channels, aren't I? Yes, I am.
So one of the most memorable ones for me was when we went to Olomouc. And Olomouc is a city in the west of Czech Republic, or in the east of Czech Republic. And on our way there from Prague, we went up north to, not to Trzecin, but a different one. I can't remember. But there is a star city in Trzecin, but then we went to a different one, and then on our way there, we ended up going to a swirly walkway. I'm getting sidetracked. And then we ended up in Olomouc. But Olomouc, there's a star map, and we can post it with the episode, of how many star cities there are everywhere. And Olomouc was like a star metropolis, but so is Prague. And they say that star cities were built as a defense wall for obviously defense for old cities, but then the geometric, and they also say that they were, and this is like the thing that like is like the real kicker, is they say that they were built for cannon fire, but then a lot of the star forts predate cannons. So that just throws that theory out of the water. And yes, like these, they are amazing for defense in the way that they're constructed. But my heart says that there's more. Like my mind reads what Wikipedia says, but then my heart says that there's more, because you can't understand the geometric precision that goes into these unless you're looking at them from an aerial view, unless you're looking at them from the sky. Like, and if you're doing this with horse and cart, the amount of effort and work that goes into building these blocks, to build the houses, that goes into these star cities, to build the walls for the cities, like that's just such a massive amount of bricks, that's such a massive amount of work and effort, and the precision and artistry that goes into these, like it's unfathomable sometimes when you see them, just how incredible these structures are, and the fact that they have so many signature characteristics in their architecture style, like the way that the points of the stars, they come down and then they go in, and then like they almost look like an arrowhead, and that's a real signature thing, is the arrowhead look. So it'll come down to the edge of the, like it'll be a pyramidal shape, and then it'll have like the base neck, and then it'll extend again into like the city walls. So, and that's a really signature style for these that is worldwide. And when globally we have so many different cultures and races, and to say that we do our buildings different, we do our clothes different, we do our food different, we do all of these things so different from one culture to another, but then these star cities are the one things that have so much in common. Like they're like snowflakes, like they have a lot of things that are like in common, like that are very similar. Like they have their signature styles, but then they're also very different from one another. Like each one is going to be unique in itself. But then there's a lot that look exactly the same. And like in Japan, there's one that looks just like the one that's in Copenhagen. And I understand like the reason why they say this, like European design transcended beyond Europe, and then this is where, like, this is the one, but then this would be the one thing that they decided to make a global uniform with, versus nothing else is as uniformed as these things. And for the grandeur and size and work and effort that gets put into these things, to say one culture isn't going to alter it enough to be like significantly different, like a super sharp pointed star without like the arrowhead edges, like it's just crazy that like these are so uniform, and they're all over like they're in Asia, they're in Central Asia, they're in South America, they're in Africa, in America, they're everywhere.
Okay, what I can do to give a little context is reiterate some of the information that was presented at the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, which was very explicit in its assertions. Unlike many places, they may say we don't know this. They dated the pyramid to be around 30,000 years old. They did that through carbon dating.
Cro-Magnon man popped out of the place I've seen about 50,000 years ago. Just saying.
Do you want to go higher on that so only dogs can hear the end of your sentence? They did carbon dating on soil matter and fossils in between two concrete layers, or so they say. They say that the pyramid was built over natural water springs and an iron ore deposit. And they say that the concrete used is something called crystal concrete, and it has stores of quartz crystal within the pyramid. And all of these things are used to direct and center the energy that's naturally within the pyramid or underneath the pyramid. And then they show some pictures, I think taken in 2015 or a few years ago, that seem to show strong electromagnetic waves coming directly out of the top of the pyramid, and they go vertically, and then horizontal ones that go out from that over the surrounding area. Like I said, they were very explicit in their assertions with this, and they said that that's what it was for. It was an ancient energy gathering machine, essentially. And we talked to a nice tour guide who was there, and he had his opinions, and I asked him what the critique of this version of history is, and they would say that it's not so old, and it was clearly not done for the reasons that they have stated there. Incidentally, it's worth mentioning that they say it is older than the pyramids of Giza, and it is
Bigger.
higher and larger than the pyramids of Giza, and that it has a more accurate bearing to true north, which they said I think was 0 degrees 2 minutes for Giza, and I can't remember, but in the seconds for the Bosnan Pyramid of the Sun. So they were very explicit, that said it was much more of a technological wonder than the pyramids of Giza ever were, which they also say in their information are much older than the traditional estimates. They say that those are likely to be tens of thousands of years old. So, I mean, I have to be honest and say that this is classed as alternative history. There is critics of this, but our tour guide liked to mention that a leading Egyptologist, he seemed to suggest that he has a vested interest in keeping his profession, and how, you know,
And we all know who that guy is.
and if you come along and start
He's actually
shaking
been fired
things up,
from representing the ancient, like the old world, the pyramids since then. The guy he's talking about, for the record.
Okay, I'm not sure of his name actually, but I remember that the leading scientist for the
Zawali or
don't worry about it,
Yeah.
it'll be on the video. For the Pyramid of the Sun was called a Dr. Sam, or was it Samir? But a Dr. Sam, he called him, and he sort of discovered the pyramid, and then went on to want to excavate and uncover some of that. And the excavation process is all privately done, rejected by history museums and the government, done by volunteers, and they expect to try and get into the tunnel so that they can get further into the pyramid. But it's a long project, and it will take 10 to 15 years before they have already uncovered some tunnels. But it is a very large structure, and you can see it from the aerial pictures that it's a pyramid, even if you can't really grasp that on the ground as we were there. You can see some of the rocks, but to the untrained eye, I would say it's very unimpressive. People maybe don't think about how rocks get to places, how concrete slabs could get up a hill, the sort of concrete it's made from, etc., etc. But to someone like you, it raises a lot of questions. Even when you're being skeptical, as I am oftenly, it raises a lot of questions about how this stuff got there, why it got there.
Because like the geology of rocks, like these definitely are not natural formations that like we were seeing there. But I think the point that you were bringing up is that there is documentable energy fields and forces around this pyramid that you can see, that you can use machines to like
well, apparently so. I don't want to say that there are. I am trusting one source that says that they've used equipment like this to see that.
But then they put all of their references there, so like
exactly.
it would be easy to look
and it should be
up.
replicatable, as any science should be.
Yeah.
It should be replicatable, and someone who is a skeptic should be able to go with the same tools and see the same effects, which obviously we do not have, but
yet
but in theory, don't get started on what tools and technologies you want to add to your collection, including red mercury.
Yeah, I did hit you up one day. I was like, how do I get my hands on red mercury?
To be friends with her is to get a message saying, how do I get my hands on some mercury, bro? And then I have to reply, have you tried Googling by mercury? And then I get a message back going, nice. I'm like, yeah, I'm you're so glad you have me for this insightful tips, right?
Yeah, red mercury is a really specific thing.
So anyone listening to this who wants to donate some mercury, get in touch. She wants some mercury. She's seen some incredible experiments on the dark side of the internet that we need to do ourselves, because it could be camera trickery and fun, but we've seen some pretty incredible things, and I can't believe them until I see it for myself. So sure, let's get some mercury. But that's the kind of point that she's getting at when we're talking about energy. I thought I would put that into context by talking about the pyramid, and she believes
Well, because there is like the natural, like ley lines, chi lines, energy lines, like whatever you want to call them, like throughout the world, where
Right.
and there's even vortexes that like affect cell phones. They affect, like planes can't fly over certain places. Like there is lots of condensed different types of variations of energy all over the world. So that's the point, is that like it does exist. It's undeniable, whether we can see it or comprehend it or not. It's factual and it's there. There's more than just a physical world around us. There is like an etherical world as well. So
Which they did allude to at the pyramid as well. They said there was a frequency coming out. Again, I wish I could remember fully, 2.4 hertz, maybe. But they said there was a certain frequency that comes out that they purported to be a sort of healing energy, which she said she could feel. But of course, I'm a big believer in the placebo and the effect, and the fact that she meditated for 10 minutes on the hill. I have no doubt that she felt a sense of calm and well-being. But to say that was the frequency of the pyramid might be a little bit of a leap in my opinion. If we hadn't read or known about the frequency, and then she was to say it, I could feel that frequency, and then we saw, I'd be a little bit more. But I have to say it was nevertheless very intriguing, regardless of your beliefs of energy, magnetic forces, and civilizations that are more than 30,000 years old. It's worth mentioning that
7.83 hertz.
7.83 hertz is apparently the frequency emanating
I pulled up our videos.
from that,
which is healing and good for your body. So, and then, okay, so another thing that the star cities all have in common is they all have cathedrals, or most of them have cathedrals within them. And then it's the stars and the cathedrals that have so much in common worldwide. When we do so many temples, and like when we're so culturally different in so many ways, these are like the one things that transcend time, culture, everything. And I don't believe it was just a European diffusion all over the world and everybody decided to build things the same way. I can't even fathom that, when people have had their own culture since the beginning and their own influence on things, that this is just these are the two things that they all decided to keep the same. So in general, a star city is going to have a big cathedral in the middle of it. And it is just really funny that the biggest buildings, especially in Europe, are the oldest buildings. And modern buildings really don't seem to like compare to these. And the metal workings that go into the tops of these cathedrals, for these domes, for these points, for these spires, it's really crazy to think about that. Like, even if like, okay, so the pyramids are one thing, but then these star cities and these massive cathedrals, and like the geometry that goes into them is just, it's unfathomable to me that we were doing this with a horse and cart in the 1600s, and a time when things were like harder. So we were supposed to have done these in the 1600s, spent who knows how much time and energy to put into these, building these bricks, cooking these bricks, making these things, and then just to destroy them like 200 years later, when they could transcend time and space.
See how
and
excited
like,
she's getting.
they could last thousands of years, and then we just build them in, because you couldn't have done these fast. You don't just build a city overnight. It takes 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years to build a city, and then to build a wall around the city that's geometrically precise. And I'm sure that there's going to be astronomical alignments with these as well. In addition to that, you like all of the pyramids are on the chi lines of the world, and so are a lot of these, like so are most of the star cities. And this is and then like also, pretty much all of the star cities used to have water around them, but then due to like channeling water, making dams, we've cut off the old water chain that we used to have in the world, like around like the planet, the old water grid, which essentially could have transferred energy through the water to the next star city, because all of them used to have water around them, but now they don't anymore because they've been drained or subverted water or something like that.
Well, as we said, if you're interested in seeing some of these things, and you do film very nicely, it's on the YouTube channel. Really look at some of this stuff. I'm often there, and I do give a little bit of devil's advocate, let's say, trad hiss questioning.
You don't let me run off into the crazy sunset completely.
I don't let her just rant on camera completely about everything without challenging some of it and how it could have been done in a more traditional, accepted historical narrative. I don't know how much she likes to cut of that from her videos. Like, what's this dissent? Cut. I would say that your production value is getting even better.
Yeah, I just started and I just winged it because I was making these videos anyway and then just not posting them anywhere. So at first they were personal videos for me and my friends, but now I'm making them more palatable for like an audience to watch.
So definitely I think you're getting better at that. Despite being a professional filmmaker already, I think you do get you get carried away for your own. I walked into a church once after being standing outside. She'd been inside for 10 minutes, and when I walked in, she was crouching on the floor with her phone, looking at a crack on a slab. Everyone else is looking at the incredible majesty of the gold, the organ, the incredible artwork on the church. You know, like an incredible church. And I'm serious. She's looking at this little crack
on the ground.
Going, Lucas, look at this. I said, what? It's a crack in the ground. She was like, or was this rock liquefied?
No, because so in an alternative way of thinking, so like I'm just gonna, okay, so
okay, let me get back.
All right, so in the alternative way of thinking, cathedrals could, like, there is an alternative history out there, and I'm not the only one that thinks like that, follows it. So cathedrals are essentially like battery cathodes, is what they say. And within the cathedrals, there is, like, all of the old cathedrals have organs in them. And the organs were like, it's a really lost art. Nobody builds organs the way they used to be built. Like, people can still play them, but then to be able to play them properly, like, I think organs are very misused because they are
I misuse my organ.
Ha. But they are resonance machines. Like, they create resonance, and you can heal your body through vibration and resonance. And then what I've always believed in my heart before I even discovered the stars is, when it comes to the geometry and precision of the megalithic structures like the pyramids, like, I've always believed in my heart that there was a way of all alchemically using the elements around you to be able to create these amazing structures. Because in my heart of hearts, there's no way anybody would ever convince me that a civilization of slaves built the pyramids, because they are just too beautiful. They're too precise. Like, they're too well done. The stones are too big. They've been moved from such a far quarry away. And then there's the guy online, and I'd like to make a comment about that.
But once I just want to hold you up on that. That's you brought up some fair points, but it's the mark of a zealot who says that there is no way he can be convinced.
You could try. It's just like, I really I'm very founded in my views because I've been researching them a lot. Like, I will absolutely always remain open-minded. And if you can give me something more than a history book explaining of something that only has one explanation for it, and then when I believe that we're not just physical beings, we're spiritual beings as well, and there's an entire etherical realm that's being, like, withheld from us and withheld from our collected consciousness, our human being, from our teaching, from our schools, from our children, from us, then I am going to, like, I am very firmly planted in some of my ways of thinking, but that's just because like I know that there's a big chunk that's not even being considered when it comes to mainstream understandings of things. Because if you're just going to have a mainstream understanding to things and you're just going to repeat back to me what I've already read in a book, it's going to be hard for me to give you the benefit of the doubt. So
Right.
you're going to have to like show me some
Right.
actual proofs of how like this would be. And then that brings me back to this guy who's on YouTube who shows how you could move the blocks of the Giza pyramid and like the size of them. But then what they're not considering is that they move them over land, over a vast distance to be able to get from the quarry to the pyramid site for these building structures. And then if you're going to say that you're using pulley systems for something that goes like what how tall, like really tall.
They're very large,
like
yeah.
to be able to say that you're getting megalithic stones stacked on top of each other, it's absolutely.
Well, there's one theory that it's not pulleys actually, and what they built was
like dirt
waterways
or
Well, no.
waterways to move the rocks. But then how are you using waterways to...
So what you would have is you'd have a tunnel, a very large tunnel encased in rock, which was filled with water, and then they would tie so much wood around each block that it became buoyant, and then it would float essentially up the tunnel. And then and obviously this is possible. You can
So that is possible. It's just like
physically possible. Sure, I'm not saying that's how it was.
That just sounds like such a ridiculous,
And then
like
they
that's where my
demolished.
heart comes in and says, I don't know about this. Like that seems like such a tremendous, that's even more
That's
of a
more tremendous than magic rock.
Wait, that's more of a tremendous effort being able to be put into something like that than an ethereal idea where you do understand alchemy, the world around you, you understand energy and you understand resonance. And when you're saying you could take something solid and turn it into a liquid for a minute, change its physical being, you can make water into shapes, you can do so many things with resonance. Like it would be ridiculous not to consider that, in my opinion, because you can take something that you can break glass with sound. You can do a lot of things with sound. And when people heal like their ailments with resonance, like why wouldn't we consider the ethereal side of things? Because this is one of my biggest problems with the scientific community, is the fact that the scientific community is very physically based on things, and we don't take a spiritual perspective on things. And if you're not going to consider the spiritual side of things, then you're going to be limiting your understanding and your results to the ultimate conclusions. So if you're that I feel like the scientific community is very stifled. It's very limited to a specific way of understanding. And I get it where they're coming from and that they only want real proofs. But then again, we are not just physical beings, we're spiritual beings as well. And there is natural energies on this planet that like are hard to explain. Like, why are the chi lines like this? Why do the vortexes have these effects on the plants, the rocks, the this, the that? Like, why, like, there's so many like non-physical things that we need to be able to consider for this. So for me, it's not unreasonable to think about an energetic resonance way of doing things. So in my heart of hearts, I don't think that the pyramids were built from a slave race, because they're too grand, they're too beautiful.
They're built in with whips,
hold on,
massive whips.
yeah, right. No, but like I do believe that in alchemy, and I believe like alchemy was science before it was science. And alchemy is a way to take nature and alter it and meld nature and earth and the world around us together to be able to get different results that are not just the physical scientific results of things. But yeah, why not be able to bring like these massive like rocks and then be able to mold them on site, and however you'd be able to move them. And if you understand resonance, you could slide a rock across a massive amount of land if you understand the resonance of the earth. And if you're moving it along chi lines and you have the right minerals and elements together, why wouldn't that be able to be true? And then once it's there, you could mold it into a form that fits together with the rocks next to it in a way that we have on this planet, because it is very unexplainable, a lot of these ancient structures. But then
Inexplicable.
so if we were to take like a more open-minded view on things, like that makes more sense to me in my heart, honestly, to be able to manipulate the elements around us instead of being able to crudely put them together. So like the explanation that's given to us is too crude, because I do believe that we are divine beings, and I'm not saying that we didn't build the pyramids. I'm just saying there's missing technologies to how the pyramids were built.
Okay, I think that's reasonable, because a lot of people talk about aliens and well, as you said, divine intervention in some respect. But that's the kind of thing that you're interested in when you're looking at different architecture, different archaeological sites, that sort of thing.
I believe like we've been in a devolving state, because like we know that giants are real. Like you can. What?
I like how you say it, just so, because there are a lot of people listening. We know that giants are real. Like, they're not going to let that statement pass. They might not have listened to our very first podcast.
Here, so look up the guanches of the Canary Islands and Tenerife, and there's a museum there, and it's one of the only museums in the world that still has giant bones in it, because the Smithsonian has like commandeered pretty much all giant bones throughout the world are gone. They are like, and there's a reason for this.
It's worth noting that she's changed my mind on giants. It wasn't something I'd really ever given any thought, and if the passing statement is giants exist, I would reject
and that's the alternative history that we're not learning about. And just because it's alternative history doesn't make it not true. It just means it's not the story we're being told, because when the stories are written by the victors, they're only telling you what they want you to know. And like, yeah, there's still museums with giant's bones, with 2 rows of teeth, with extra set of fingers, like that are 8 feet, like over, like they're so big, like, and like just to even be like 2 or 3 feet taller than the average that's a lot. That's almost like an extra person.
Well, we're aware of the pygmies. We know that there were larger races within
just other races in general.
Yeah, very short period of time, and then to think 10,000 to
other species, other species is the way to put it. So there's been other humanoid species on this planet.
Exactly.
It's really withheld from us. Nobody learns about the pygmies, because all of the younger generation, like our generation, we know about the pygmies because we were taught about it. We grew up, we saw it on TV, because it was from a time that wasn't so long ago, actually, that the pygmies were still around. Like we still have pictures of them in National Geographic. So it was not a time that long ago. The Guanches were not that long ago either, but it was just a little bit longer than the pygmies, and like we wanted their land, of course, so
slowly
go there,
these things
slaughter,
are eroded
conquer,
and forgotten with time, or want to be forgotten, erased from history.
Yeah, and just to take our past away from us and not like keep it prevalent, to only teach us about the war, and to only teach us about like wars and conquering, and to fill our heads to say that that's the only reality that we know. It isn't fair to me, because then we are losing the etherical way of things to see that like there was all of these different variety, and like the world wasn't just meant for a people like us. The world was meant, and this is why I say we're in a devolving state, is because like we did have giants that walked the earth, and now they're gone. And we do know that the atmosphere used to be different, and it used to be able to support like a bigger body of things. And then as the earth changes, we know that like reptiles, they get smaller, birds, they get smaller. So then why wouldn't that be the same for humans as well, or humanoid species? So of course we've had giants that have walked the earth, and then since then, from when they had longer lifespans and they had a different understanding of things, this is where we, like, if we're not being taught about this, we can't consider the way they used to think, the abilities that they used to have, because I very much believe in extraordinary abilities, telekinesis, telepathy, astral projection, and I don't believe that we all had them. I believe some people had more, some people had less, but I do believe that that was a component of mankind before. And if you are more spiritually, I want to say magically inclined, like to your extraordinary abilities, then you would be able to manipulate the elements of the world around you a little bit better. We would be able to build
wizards,
the pyramid. Yeah, we would be
warlocks.
Yeah, we would be able to build the pyramids and stuff like that. And if you're not going to be able to consider more spiritual or ethereal understanding of things, we're never going to get the answers that we're looking for. Because if we're just limiting our understanding to things to just a physical world, I don't think it's going to get us very far. And that's part of why, like, I feel like people do feel so lost, is because they are not being taught that there is another way of understanding and thinking about things, to consider things. So then we are going to be very stifled in our understanding. We're going to be very stifled in our discoveries, and then we are going to think that the pyramids are only X amount of years old or something like that, and we aren't going to be able to fully explain or prove how these things were done. Versus if you feel with your heart, I do believe that at one point we were part of a collected consciousness, and as our world has changed around us, as like things have gone on and the devolution has like progressed, progressing. We lose these things. We're losing touch with what we used to be connected to, and I feel like that's why people do feel so lost and confused, and like they're alone in this world.
You want a little bit more spirituality in the world. So like magic isn't a stupid word for it. You know, it is what you're describing is, to our sensibilities, magic.
Like alchemy is kind of magic. Alchemy is like some alchemy is a form of magic.
Well, I think if you are open-minded, or if you like looking at nice architecture from around European cities, I think your channel is worth a look. And I think the videos are only going to get better. The next ones are going to be from this little tour that we're currently on. And our next podcast will be a little bit more of just the fun we've had out here, a little bit more of the contemporary things we've learned, not about alchemy, magic, giants, and pyramids. I think we'll talk about some of the beers we've drank, some of the people we've met along the way, and some of the impressions that we've learned from the countries we've been going through. And it'll be a bit of a different vibe in the next recording. But this one we kind of wanted to promote the channel a little bit on YouTube, because we've been doing a lot of recording for it. We've had a lot of fun doing it, traveling around, driving, talking bullshit like we do here, but on camera instead of just into a microphone. And we look forward to making the next one, right?
Mm-hmm. Very, very much. And I would just like to say one thing about cathedrals are, like, in my mind, cathodes. The organs were used for resonance conduction, and that's just another form of energy, and that's the previous civilization in my mind. And then the previous civilization, I believe, had an even better understanding of that, hence the pyramids. And then the next civilization was the cathedrals and the organs, hence those energies and more geometric precision to architecture. So it's all tied in together, and I'm going to get better at mentioning about that in the videos. Instead of just talking to myself, I will start to work on talking to other people and educating them.
I called her out on calling multiple things nubbins and nuggets.
I know, I use my own like words and slang.
And I said, maybe if you're trying to educate people on this, maybe use the names that they're actually called instead of saying this little nugget here, which is very cute, but not exactly, I wouldn't say educational, which I think is her goal. So I think we've summed that up. I don't want to go on too long about this.
You don't.
I don't. Well, this is the thing. Once you open the floodgates with this one, and you've got to remember, I'm only just a man. I'm just a man, and I have to listen to this bullshit all times.
For 3 weeks, we're on a 3-week
trip, and I'm listening to cathedrals, cathodes, giants, energy fields, resonances, etc., etc. And I don't care if it's brand new to you guys. I'm trying to grasp the last of my sanity, and a 40-minute podcast on this is just enough for me. I think we should go take a swim or something, or do something nice.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, see you later, guys.
Bye.
If you made it through an entire episode of Natasplat, well done you. You can find more of us all over the internet and at natasplat.com. See you later.